It's filming.
I'm Jerry, and it's September 4th, and we're going to make a video about how to make rubber motors for F1B free flight models. And this is Michael, the director of photography.
Hello.
Okay. Normally I'd be making a batch of 15 motors, but today I'm just going to make one, so the process doesn't get too long. And so, step over here to the digital scale. First you have to find the end. And then if the end is tangled up, which it always is, got to be untangled. This wasn't supposed to be a video about untangling rubber, but anyway. Okay, so you got 30 grams for F1B. I'm going to weigh out 29.4. Because by the time you wash it and then add some lube, and then some lube gets squeezed out, flying it, it's just under 30 grams, therefore legal. Okay, as we go, I'm watching for a splice, which is indicated by a couple little black hash marks on the rubber. And if you hit one, you got to stop, cut it, and retie it, because otherwise it'll break during stretch testing or during winding. Bulky rubber today. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on the scale, but also keeping an eye for the little black hash mark. This never happened to me before. It's supposed to just festoon neatly out of the box. Okay, black hash marks, and so far. Okay, look at the scale display. I'm shooting for 29.4, which just requires some kind of careful finessing of the rubber and cutting it. 29.42, good enough. Okay. So now it's cut. Next thing is to tie it. Put the two ends together. Get a little bit of lube. It's a silicone oil lube. The idea is just to get it a little tacky. Okay. Special knot. That goes under. Stick your finger through. Once, twice, 3 times. Pull the end through. And then you can kind of control how the knot tightens up by putting your fingers on the whole thing. The idea is not to have too much of this excess tail, but not to pull too tight, because that'll nick the rubber and then it'll break. So, about like that. That's good. Okay, a loop. Next thing is to measure it, the whole length. I'm hooking it down here at an anchor point in the garage. Make sure it's not tangled up. And then you can't snap it. You gotta let it go nice and easy against these marks on the garage floor. Right there. Okay, these marks, like that's 700 inches, but it's really 350 inches from the garage because I want the length of the whole strand, the whole continuous single strand. So that's 698 inches of rubber I've got there. And I'm doing this because the entire length and therefore the made up length is important. Okay, so 698 inches. I want something between 13.5 and 14 inches, and that's controlled by the number of strands this is made up into. So let's try, I don't know, 50, 13.96, which rounds up in tenths to 14. Okay, so this is just 2 pieces of 4-inch wide balsa wood, each about 8 inches long, with a rubber band around it, so I can slide it and then slide. And this is a ruler, graduated in tenths of an inch. So I'm going to slide it to 14 inches. I was making coupe motors, so it's kind of short. 14 inches, right there. Clothespin, clothespin. So the idea is to wrap this, take out all the slack, but not stretch it, which is hard to do because it's rubber. So if I do it exactly right, it'll come out to exactly 50 strands. So that is a 2-strand motor. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50. It's tempting to pull that, but don't do it. Instead, because I was a little bit short, just unwrap it a few turns and pull it a little bit tighter. A little bit tighter. And then it comes out going 50 strands. Take it off with a card, some static electricity, so squirt it with water. Then, okay, this part, it's impossible to describe or draw, so you might have to just fool with it yourself, but I promise you it's possible. To show you it's possible, I'll do it. That goes through there like that. Boom. So what you get is 2 bundles of rubber, which helps when you go to put it on the bobbin. You don't end up with strands that are crossed.
I definitely didn't capture that very well. How redoable is that?
Can we do it?
It's fast. You're like a magician.
Okay, let's do it again. Once you get to this point, there's not that much else you can do with it. So, it's like that. And if you fool around with it, you'll eventually end up with that. Okay, so now if we didn't measure first, you'd never know that was a 13 or 14 inch motor because you can make it anything you want, you know. It could be a 13.3 inch motor, or it could be if I pull a little bit, it's 14 inches. You really need to measure it first, in my opinion. Okay, so that's done. At this point, I would stretch test it, but I'm not going to do that on this video because it's complicated and involved. It's maybe a subject for another video. So instead, well, imagine that I've done that and washed it. And when you wash it to get all the talcum powder off and all the crap off the floor off it. So let's imagine I've done that. Here's one that I've actually done that to. The other thing is keeping track of all this information. Shoot that label there. So this is June 2013 rubber. Tested or made on 9/4, just for information. It's the 91st motor out of the box. The raw length of this one was 696. The strands was 50, and that came out to 13.9. So these are 3x4 polyethylene bags. You can get them on the web. Stick a label on it. And I like to use multicolored rubber bands. And then write on here what color it is. Yellow. Because sometimes you'll have, like in a fly-off, you'll have 2 or maybe 3 motors out of the bag. And then you don't use one and you lost track of which motor goes with which bag, and therefore which motor goes with what information. So if you sort of vary the colors a little bit, you can get the motor back in the bag. So let's pretend this motor has been washed, which it has. Let's pretend it's been stretch tested, which it hasn't. The next thing is to lube it. So about that much. It should be shiny. And then make sure you get it under this little rubber band. It won't magically go there. You got to put it there. And stick it in the bag. Throw it in with all the other ones, and that's about it. So, thanks for watching.
All right.